So, I want to get into some music theory. Someone said, the relationship between the left and right hand when you're improvising piano. Do you know you're playing in a certain key so you know which keys are eligible to be played together? Are you just doing octaves on the left hand and chords, arpeggios on the right hand? How do you improve on that? Is it just learning your chords and scales? I'm about 7 months into piano lessons. I took them for a few years when I was a kid and then decided I wanted to start again last fall. My grandma is a piano teacher, so it's pretty awesome. Yeah, I wanted to get into this because I love talking about piano theory because you can apply it to life pretty easily. Okay, yeah, so the way I would teach you if you were hanging is the left hand does octaves and then just does a rolling arpeggio. So an octave is just C, let's say C to C, right? And like a fractal, and for those of you that don't know what a fractal is like a repeating pattern. Like if you have a square like this, and then you have another square in the corner that's the same as this square, and then in that corner is the same as all the squares, and it's just like doom, 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 doom. It's a repeating pattern. Like the shell in nature where you see the Fibonacci sequence just going out and out, that's also fractal. And the piano's fractal. It's the same 12 notes repeated over and over again. An octave, it's higher in amplitude, like the wave speed, or no, is that frequency? Amplitude is the size of the wave, and frequency is how many in the wave. So the amplitude is how loud something is, and the frequency is like how high or low it is. And it's the same, like that's the same note as that, and that, and that, and that, and that. And so the C scale is just whites. It's whites only. You know, it's like a Banana Republic store. Just only about the whites. So only white keys. The next one is D, and that has 2 black keys. You know, it's starting an affirmative action program. Well, that's in like Jamal and Darius. Hey Jamal. Hey Darius. And then E lets in 4 blacks. By the time you get to B, it's just a welfare state. There's 5 blacks. And that's how you keep it major sounding. Like, okay, so let's just keep it with C for a second. So the way I broke down the political theory with music is the left hand is the conservative and the right hand is the classical liberal. And so the conservative sets up the rules, whether it's the 10 Commandments or the Constitution. And that way you set up rules that can't be broken in times of stress or in times when the rules are not convenient. And that allows you to keep a stable society and not just always be just shifting anywhere, because that is weak and that allows tyrants to take over. Rapid change is a very, very destructive time in any society, except for the people that benefit from the change. And it's usually a very small amount of people, and they're very nefarious a lot of times. So, so let's say you set it in the key of C, which is just no blacks, whites only. And, all blacks sound Asian, which is hilarious. If it's only black keys, isn't that funny that if you get black enough, it's a full circle all the way back to Asia? That's all blacks. So let's say you set, let me make sure that my chat's still working. I'm just double checking because YouTube had issues before. And then I'll read the super chats you guys got going on YouTube too. I'm not forgetting about y'all. Let me just do a little bit of those, little bit of this, and then I'll get it going. There's a lot of people on this. Wow, 730 people watching just on YouTube. That's amazing. That's cool, especially because we have like 6 venues now. This is great. I got to write back to Bob real quick. No, definitely contact them. Thanks. All right, so let's say you have the white octave and you're just rolling an arpeggio. Because an arpeggio is when you hear fractal. It's the same pattern over and over again. It's a fifth with a middle third. It's a triad and that just repeats over and over again. But then you can roll it, right? So you get the bass, and no blacks is the key for this one. And it's not racial. It's just about tone. So you go. And so the right hand has to follow the rules, but it's allowed to be more creative and explore and redefine, like find new things. Because too much conservatism is a stagnant society, like ancient Egypt, where there is no changing anything, but it's efficient, but you're just building triangles in the dirt. You can do something as amazing as triangles in the dirt. Like no one knows how they built these giant triangles in the dirt, but they're still just triangles in the dirt, right? But too much liberalism is chaos. There's no rules. There's no gender. Gender doesn't exist. Patriarchy. Math is racist. A dick is bad. It's just noise. And we all know that noise. So then if you let society set a tone with rules, the left hand can become the right hand can become creative, but it has to follow the rules. 10 Commandments, Constitution. Within that is infinite possibilities for life. But when you stray out of those things, then you have a problem. So you set the rules. And then within that world, you can do a melody. Anything. I've never played this before. This is improv, but it's improv within a world. Improv can really intimidate people because too many possibilities can lead to like a freezing. That happened right after the Berlin Wall fell. And people that had only had one choice for everything, like communists and authoritarian governments, like some old people that had never known anything else, would go into a store and see like 30 types of toothpaste and freeze, and they wouldn't know what to do. Because their world, there was one toothpaste and probably one tooth because of the starvation linked to communism. And so they almost preferred authoritarianism, kind of like when Brooks left a prison in Shawshank and couldn't function because his life was in a cage. That's all he knew. But this is how you improvise. You make rules, and within those rules, you can flourish and allow yourself to make mistakes and explore. It's in jazz, it's called your bag. It's Papa's got a brand new bag. I don't know if there's multi dimensions of metaphor for that, but in music, a bag would be like, a certain riff you do. Like for me, one of my bags is like for Furley's, I have a run that goes like this. Like I already know that. It's a repeating pattern that I know, and it's within the rules that make sense. And so I have that in my bag. And that allows me that anytime I stray too far off course, I can hit that up. It's the same in comedy. It's like I know I have jokes that work every time, like the tall joke, getting pulled over. There's certain ones that no matter how far off the path I go, I can just bring it right back in with something in my bag. And so that's how you improvise. Because if everything is possible, improvisation becomes pure chaos and postmodern. Like if you don't follow the whites only rule of C, and that's not racial, it's about black keys, not black people. But listen to how this sounds. So you have this, right? So you start off with the whites. Then this is what black keys sound like. Like that would work if you're trying to create dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is like, Donald Trump is Adolf Hitler. Give the government all your guns. That's called cognitive dissonance, and I believe it leads to cancer. But it definitely leads to a bunch of confused soy boys. But cognitive dissonance works in movies when something bad is coming. Jaws and 8 Mile. I'll show you how it's the same thing, right? So that's dissonance. That's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. So the shark. And with 8 Mile, it's the same thing. Right? It's like that big 8 Mile soundtrack for Eminem is like something stressful is approaching. The shark, which is his battle rap, right? So it's Jaws. Stressing the off beats. Right? That's the same as Jaws. So cognitive dissonance doesn't lead to beauty. It's the postmodern art. Modern art is intentionally ugly, and it's like the architecture in Soviet bloc countries or during Russian revolutions, or it's just big squares, no windows. They're supposed to look ugly and ominous to keep people broken and small. You know, that's the postmodern art movement, is just like a dot or nonsense scribbles. It's to make people feel not beautiful. It's to keep people in their place. Beautiful is form meets a little bit of chaos. It's Marilyn Monroe's mole. This beautiful face with a mole. That's what made her so striking, is that you have this classic beauty, this symmetrical face with imperfection. And that leads to the icon of her. If she was just beautiful, she's not Marilyn Monroe. She's just beautiful. But it was the mole that made her so iconic. It's the piece of sand in the oyster is what makes the pearl. Without the sand, there's no pearl. Without abrasion, without struggle, without arguing, there is no growth. Just like the coarse nature of roots. Like when you rub against a root is the only way the root grows. Lifting weights is how you damage your muscles. You struggle with a weight and you get little tears in your muscles. And then when it rebuilds, it becomes bigger and stronger. Like scars, for example. That will always be above my skin now because it overcompensated to heal. And that is what you can do emotionally. That's what you can do with songs. That's what you can do with any talent. Where a lot of times the scars that make you imperfect is what makes you strong and what makes you human. You just have to learn how to use that. It can also ruin you. Marilyn Monroe's mole could be a cancerous growth that spreads to her pancreas. You know, that's what makes it beautiful and exciting, is its slight touch of chaos to it. You know, that's why a lot of artists are crazy, is because that dance with chaos is what makes the draw. So you have order is beautiful, and the ultimate song is Canon in D. It's the ultimate in chaos with a hint. No, of order with a hint of chaos. It's beauty with just a hint of expansion. It's a scale. It's a D scale. That's all it is. Just listen to this. It's just a scale. Just down. You're just playing a scale. Just showing you're following the rules. Just like marriage. You follow the rules. You check in. You don't cheat. You honor. And then you can improvise. There's not one minor chord in this whole song. Minor would sound like this. See the beginning, how it was minor? Minor. Major. Minor. Major. You see, it's just one little half step is what makes something sound happy versus what makes something called sad. Like this is Moonlight Sonata is full of minor chords, but the thing that makes it so sad is that there is a few major chords. Without hope, there isn't true depression. And without sadness, there isn't true happiness. You can never reach utopia on earth because then you would not feel good. It would just be empty. You have to have comparison. Human beings think by comparing things to other things. That, like, when they're trying to design robots now with vision, they're running into a lot of problems because your own vision is just based on comparing things. And we're starting to realize how vague the real world and objects can be if you don't have purpose or if you don't have, a code. There's just too much info, and it's really, really difficult to discern where the edge of something is. You have to make decisions early on to figure out where the edge of something is. So Moonlight Sonata, that's a minor chord, right? Minor chord. And then it goes major. Why am I messing this up? Major. And then descent into the ultimate. If you look at that as a story, that's why I think I've been a talented writer without a lot of formal training in writing, is because the story of writing is a lot like the story of music. Because you have, that's just flatline sadness. And then you have hope, escalation, and then the realization back to hell. And then you climb out of it a little bit. It subverts. And then peace for a second. Peace. And watch the peace just become dark. Just subtle. One thing changes. You hear that? And then it starts again. A little bit different, but similar. Except this time it goes from dark to happy. It's reversed. Fascinating. It's a story. It's a story. You can see the individual in that song, except it's supposed to be played so soft you can barely hear it. Like, I'm playing that way too fast and way too much amplitude. It's supposed to sound like this. Just barely hear it. That's how you're supposed to play the whole song. The longer you draw it out and you don't telegraph where you're going, like I telegraph sometimes, like telegraph would be like, I'll show you a part. Like to try and make your own statements, but it's too early. And slow down. Say just speed it up a little bit. You're not supposed to do that, because when you do the full song, you just keep it so soft and without any change in rhythm until the audience or the listener can barely handle it, where they're like, just show me where it goes. Because the other movement of that is this. Contrast that with this. And in both those songs, they all have the rules. And that's why Beethoven could become such a madman, because he had this set of rules. And to break the rules is a major thing. And you only want to do it when it's absolutely necessary.